First, welcome everyone to this amazing course, Basics of Judaism. Baruch Hashem, very excited to be here. Good evening. As you can all see, we printed this booklet for each one of you. You're gonna have the course overview over here, and also like a short summary and understanding of the topics of each one of the 6 classes that we're going to have today. And that's the first class number 1. It's knowing and believing in Hashem. I feel this is the foundations of everything. Before we talk about Shabbat, before we talk about blessing, what exactly the point of everything? What are we doing over here? Who we are? What's the point of Judaism? Who is God? Does it exist? You know, we're afraid to touch sometimes those topics. Obviously, we can't really get the full depth and the understanding of each topic, but this is just the basics to really build some kind of foundation in our heart, in our brain, and little by little we will get the full picture of what are we doing. So I believe that the first topic, and that's why we put it as the first class, is really to touch those basics of Emunah, as we call it, faith in Hashem. Because at the end of the day, everything that we are doing is coming from a place that we believe in, that this is the right thing to do, right? Anything in life, in business, in relationship, with kids, with education, everything is, is about what we believe, about our principles, right? Even when you talk randomly about any topic, people will tell you, I believe in love, right? I believe in love. What exactly it means? It means that the person who's telling you that they believe in love thinks that that's the right thing, and it's amazing, and he also wants to be part of that, and to love someone, or to be in love, or feel that someone loves him, etc., right? Or in politics, in games, in anything, people believe. So we use sometimes this word not necessarily with the right terminology of understanding what is believed, right? Because today in slang, when we say I believe, it means this is my opinion. That's what I stand for. That's what I want, right? I believe that Messi is better than Cristiano, right? There's some Argentinian over here, so this is not a Emunah. This is like my opinion, right? Especially because he's moving to Miami. It means it's not really a legit faith that we're gonna talk about, right? So that's very important. To have this foundation of knowing and believing in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, understanding what is exactly the Torah, why do we have the Torah, what are all of those mitzvot. We have 613 mitzvot that we receive from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, from Hashem on Mount Sinai, right? The 10 Commandments. All of that is very important. The question is why? What is our purpose in life? Why are we here? And if God is so great and so powerful, why does He even need us, right? I mean, He can do everything by Himself, so what's the point of everything, right? So as you can see, on class number 1, I actually put a little bit like bullet points that, by the way, everyone can write notes. As you see, you have room to write notes to yourself, so you actually live with something over here that you'll remember, and you can go back to it. But Hashem, after each class, we're gonna have time for Q&A, so you can write to yourself also a question if you wanna ask. We're gonna stay here after for questions regarding the topic that we're learning. So the first thing that I asked myself, we wrote it like knowing and believing in Hashem. It means that many times we confuse between I know to I believe, right? Some people, lots of rabbis for many years, they hold that you need to believe in Hashem doesn't mean that you need to investigate and you need to find out what's true, what not. You just need to have what's called in Hebrew emunat mima, simple faith in Hashem, right? Like the Kuzari talk about it, and all the rabbis who mentioned that the best thing is to have this simple emunah. As you see people, they just come into the room, they kiss the mezuzah, they don't ask questions, everything is obvious for them. For other people, the opposite. They don't take anything just because. Nothing is obvious for them. They have to investigate, they have to ask, they have to know, especially today with technology, with science. They need to make sure how everything makes sense. You say that God exists, I wanna actually know that, right? I need to make sure. Can't just believe. So there's those two kinds of opinions, right? I believe that it's a combination of both. The Rambam, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, bring the opinion that you need to investigate. You can't just say, oh, I believe, because if you just believe in something, so everybody believe in his own thing, right? So why we argue? When you have the truth, you need to be able to prove it, right? If someone will ask you questions, you have no answer, or you're not willing to talk about it, it's a little bit, maybe that's not the truth, right? And if it's just you're gonna follow whatever you have in your heart, so other people follow whatever they have in their heart, right? So says the Rambam, you have to investigate, you have to know, right? We find many times in the Torah that when we talk about emunah, when we're talking about believing in Hashem, the Torah doesn't use the word believing. The Torah used the word knowing. Veyadata et Hashem. You need to know God, right? Leman yeda'u oti lemigadol ve'ad katon. So you'll know me, everybody, right? The prophet is telling us that when Mashiach will come, that we're waiting for that every day, what's going to happen? And the Navi, the prophet, is telling us, Umalea haaretz de'a et Hashem. It means everyone will have knowledge of God, right? The prophet doesn't say everybody will believe in God. Everyone will know, right? So there is a concept of knowing. At the same time, we feel the idea of we need to believe. We even find that when the Jewish people left Egypt, and we say it every day in Tefillat Shacharit, that Be'ezrat Hashem we're going to talk about one of the classes. We say, Vaya'aminu ba'Hashem u'beMoshe avdo. The Jewish people believed in Moshe. They believed in God. What exactly did they believed in Moshe? They knew Moshe already before. That's nothing new, right? So what exactly it means to believe? Did they add something more that they didn't know about Moshe? No, they knew who is Moshe. They knew his parents, Amram and Yocheved. They knew his grandparents. They knew his brother Aharon, his sister Miriam, right? So it's not about knowing. Believing it's something else. Vaya'aminu, right? So the thing is that we're talking about proving something. There is two ways to know that something exists, that something is true, that something is legit. And I'm not talking about looking at it, right? Because looking at something, on feeling it, that can be illusion. Many times, the only proof that we have for something is I see it, I feel it, I hear it, I taste it, I know it's there, right? That's usually our way to prove something. But that can be wrong. Because many times we see something that's not the truth, right? Today, you can go to Winwood, there is a beautiful place of illusions, and you go there and you see things that you know they're not even true, but they make it in a way that looks like. Especially today with all the metaverse and the 3-dimension and 4-dimension and crazy things. So seeing something or feeling doesn't necessarily mean this is the truth, right? There is two other ways to prove something. Number one, someone is telling you, and you believe in that person, we will see why. But if someone is telling you and assuming you trust this person, is telling you about something, for example, he's telling you, his name is Mr. Armstrong, he's telling you, I went to the moon, right? I choose perfectly this beautiful conspiracy or not. He went to the moon, he was walking on the moon, right? So did you ever been there? No. Did you ever saw the moon in your own eyes? No, it's very far. But someone telling you that he was there, right? So if you trust this person, that will be the proof that the moon exists. That's way number one. When you trust someone, so whatever he's telling you, you can count on that. There's another way to prove something. It's by seeing the results, right? For example, if you hear sound of a dog, so even though you don't see it, you know it's there, right? It means when you see the results of something, you know there is something. For example, if you see the painting of Leonardo da Vinci, you know that someone painted this beautiful Mona Lisa, right? Someone did it. Even though you don't know them, you never seen them, you never talk with them, you didn't grow up in the Renaissance temporary in Italy, but you see the results, right? You see the consequence of their actions. So you know that person was there, something was there. It means that when we're talking about God and existing of God, it's not so simple of I need to see it. It's impossible to see it. And I will tell you something, if someone is telling you, oh, I've seen God, is lying. Because God is not something that is in our level. God is not something that is in our physical reality or into concept of materialism, right? There is no way to see God. Even the Torah is telling us that whoever is telling you that he saw God or see God, he will be dead. Because there is no way to be alive, there is no way to live in our reality and to see God, right? We cannot grab God in our physical eyes. So there is no way to see it. There's no way to hear God. God doesn't talk our language, right? It's a spiritual concept. So how we can prove it? That's something that have to be with a different mindset, with different kind of tools that we're going to use to prove something like that. Especially today when people coming with different kind of theories about creation, right? The Big Bang Theory or the steady state model, the world was always there, and different kind of concept that you have to come with a little bit of sense of investigation of, wait a minute, how that's even possible, right? If, people telling you the world was billions of years, how are we coming up with 5,000? It's not even, if they're telling you the world was 13.8, 14.2 billion years, and we will say 5 billion, so we have a discussion, right? We have kind of an argument. But they're saying 14 billion, we're coming up with 5,000. It seems like a joke, right? How is this even possible? Dinosaurs, they exist, they're not, right? There's so many things. We're not going to be able to open everything, obviously, today, but just to touch the idea. So, proving that God exists and there is only one God, coming from concept of understanding life, not the way that we live. We cannot see it, we cannot hear it. We need to either know about it or to see the results. So one of the ways, obviously, to know about it is to see our life, right? The way that our body works, the way that everything exists. There was the one time there was a rabbi, actually, because they bring that idea, that he was sitting with a professor, and the professor talked about evolution and that everything starts from a point of energy and then, grew. By the way, the Torah actually go with it. When I talk about creation, you will see that actually the way that things, work today according to science, that's actually how the Torah describes creation. Just the only difference is that we believe that God did it. But everything starts from light, from point of light. And then separation of heaven and earth, and then little by little, the way that we see our life today, right? The only difference is we believe that God did it. It didn't happen by itself. But that rabbi is sitting with the professor, and the professor is leaving the room for a second, and the rabbi takes the pen and the paper over there and is writing a beautiful song. The professor is coming back and says, "Oh, that's a beautiful song. Who wrote it?" So the rabbi is like, "It just happened by itself." And he's like, "Nah, come on. Who wrote the song?" It's like, no, it happened by itself. And the person said, "It's impossible. There's no way that this song was just someone wrote it. It's an idea. There's letter. There is ink. There is some." It says, "You don't believe that 5 lines of song happened by itself, but the whole creation, us, just happened just because." Right? Those kind of simple things that definitely you can argue and coming from here and there. But the way of seeing results of something will prove that something is there, right? The simple understanding that we are limited, right? Each one of us is limited. When I'm saying limited, it's not just we're not capable of doing something. It means that we have limits, right? My body have limits. I'm not all over the place, right? I'm only here. Each one of us is a separate body. That means limits, physical limits, right? We can think of something different than each one of us, whatever they think, those limits, right? So if we have limits, it means that someone put those limits, right? How we ended up having limits. Or in other ways, some people bring this idea with either we were created or we create ourselves. But we are here, that's a fact, right? Who brought us over here? It's us, and that's a philosophical argument of, wait a minute, if we brought ourselves over here, so we were here before we brought ourselves over here, so who we are. And if not, so how come we here? Or the way that we started at the beginning. If we have limits, who are the one that put us limits and says this is your body and only your body and not body of someone else? I know it's deep, but it's very important to understand. So we came up with the conclusion that someone else limited us. Someone else did it, or someone else created us. Now that someone cannot have limits, because if he have limits, therefore who limits that one, right? Or he right? Or someone told me, today you should say he or she, It's God, you don't know. But actually true, God is not male or female, right? But we can refer to God as he, just in a way. But God can be Elohim, can be Adnut. The point is that whoever is God, or the one who created us, cannot be someone that someone else created, because that means that he wasn't the one that created us. So that understanding of seeing the results can lead you to someone put limits, someone created. Now that one who created cannot have limits and cannot have no one who created. How that's even possible? It's very difficult with our limited understanding of life to understand something that is above ours. For example, we live in a bubble of time and space. For us, there is past, future, right? That's why we're able to do teshuvah for the past. And there is a question, famous question, the Rambam bring it in Hilchot Teshuvah on the chapter 5, Halacha 5. And he says over there, if God is all-knowing, how we can make decisions? How can we have free will if God is all-knowing, right? If He already knows the future, how can I make a decision today? That's a famous question, very important, right? Because if actually it means that God is all-knowing, so what are we doing over here, right? There's many answers to this question. One of the answers is the understanding that the knowledge of God works in a different way that we thinking, that we knowing. And the Rambam actually said right at the beginning of his book of Yad Chazakah, he says, "En yediata boreh keyediata adam." The way that God knows things is not the way that we know. For example, we'll give you an example, that when you live in a cycle of time, right? So you have the past and you have the future. And you can make decisions what's going to happen in the future, right? Now God is above time. Today, thanks to Albert Einstein, we already know that. The time is relative, right? The theory of relativity. We're not going to open it now. It's not an astrophysics class. But we already know that the time is relative. It means that time is based on movement. That, by the way, one of the rabbis, Rav Saadia Gaon, who was living 1100 years ago, wrote a book called Emunot Vedeot. Beliefs and knowledge and thoughts, and he already wrote over there this concept, the theory of relativity. He brings it in 3 words of Nikre Davek Letnua. It means time is attached to movement. The only way to feel time or to see that time is moving is based on movement, right? But if you will freeze everything, time won't move. God is above time. So God doesn't know the future, because that's going to be a problem, how we can choose something. God knows what we're going to do in the future because we already did it. It means He's above the time, so He doesn't see the future as future. He sees it as today. For example, if you're flying and you see someone driving, and that someone who's driving calling his wife and says, "Hey, I'm on my way, in 5 minutes I will be home." But you can see because you're on top, so you see that he's driving and then you see that he's stopped because there is traffic, right? So it's not that you're better than him or you see the future of what's going to happen. You're just in a different level. You can see before and after, but you see it at the same time. God is above the concept of time the way that we see it, because it's above movement. It doesn't change. So for Him, the past and the future is happening right now. Like you're reading a comics, right? And you read it little by little, but basically if you look on the page, the whole story, you see it in one shot. Right? Or when you see a beautiful painting and you see the house and the tree and the kid playing, you see all of that at the same time in the same place, right? Because you just see the painting. God, the way that we see our reality, is like a beautiful painting. It means there is before and after, but it's all happening at the same time in the same place. I know it's deep. We can maybe in the Q&A time to open that a little bit more, but God is above time. Now, the understanding of knowing HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, number one, come from the point we see the results. We see what He created. He created us. There is no way that just happened by itself. When you actually look into the system of our body, the way that things work, you'll understand that cannot be that it just happened by itself. It just doesn't make any sense. How that work with science, for example, people say, yes, but listen, the way that we see this world, they actually see that the world is 14 billion years, right? So how put it together with the 5,000 story of the Torah, of the creation. One of the things, and I will give you an example. If you will take yourself, okay, you're going to look at yourself. The way that they measure time in years and the age of our world, one of the popular way to do it is the carbonized thing. It means they check something based on how much that object changed, let's say in the last year, and based on that there is a simple formula to calculate if took to this object to change in the last year that amount of change. If you go reverse, how long it will take to this object to be here today. So they multiply based on change. There is a formula to do it. You can Google it. And based on that, there is the age of the tree, the age of the rock, and the age of the universe, right? Based on that. Now, if you're going to look at yourself, you'll measure the change that you changed in the last year. How much you changed? Not much, right? If you're going to measure based on the change of last year, your age, you're going to be maybe 137 million years old. Because that's how you calculate reversal based on change. But obviously that's not the truth. So how that's possible? It's possible because we had 9 months of pregnancy. And those 9 months of pregnancy did crazy change from zero, almost zero, to a baby, right? But you today, you don't know about it, right? When you see someone, you see a dog, there is nothing that telling you about pregnancy that happened 40 years ago, right? So there is no way you'll know about it. So if you calculate the age of that person that you see, the answer will be between 130 to 150 million years. Because you don't know that at some point there was 9 months of pregnancy that actually make the process much faster. That's one example of understanding that the days of creation, the 6 days of creation, were working with a different beat of time. Another way of seeing that actually time is based on the sun and the moon. When we're going to talk about the Jewish calendar and the Jewish holidays, we're going to talk about how that actually works. But God created the sun and the moon on Wednesday, the 4th day of creation. So the first 3 days maybe were 14 billion years, right? How long was the first day of creation? How long? Nobody knows, right? We call it day. We call it day. But no one told you that that day was 24 hours of 60 minutes of 60 seconds, right? Maybe that day was 14 billion years. The moment we start to have time the way that we have it today was on the 4th day with the sun and the moon. The Torah telling you, ve'ayu lezmanim ulemoadim. They will tell you the time. Before that, that's another answer. Maybe actually the first day was 14 billion years. Science are not against the Torah, right? Another way of saying that, if you will take bin, all right? We're making chamin, 2 days it's Shabbat, right? You're taking one bin, right? A little one, and you put it on the table. How many years it will take to that bin to be ready to eat? Today it's dry and hard, right? You want to eat it. How long it will take today bin to be ready? How many years? If you will put it in some calculation and formula, maybe millions of years, what's going to happen is that the roof one day will collapse, and then the rain will touch the bin if we still will be there, and then the sun, when it's going to be wet, will come and somehow cook that. I don't know, maybe in 10 million years that bin will be ready, right? But then you're coming over here on Shabbat and you're eating the cholent, and the bin is soft and ready to eat. How that's possible in 2 days? How that's possible that you can do it in 30 minutes? How that's possible? You boiled it. You put it in water and you boiled it, right? It means there was an action that you did. That if you're not aware of this action, you will assume, oh, that's been 6 million years till it was actually cooked. Because you don't know about the 30 minutes that someone actually put it in the crock pot with water, boiling water. We had in the history, during the flood generation, 40 days of boiling water all over the world. There was a crazy flood for 40 days. And that 40 days, the whole world was cooking 40 days. So when you see today a tree or a rock, right, and you measure the time, you're right. In a simple way of calculation, that will take 14 billion years. But you forgot that 40 days was cooking in a boiling water. So same thing that bins can be cooked in 30 minutes and to be ready, but if you don't know about it, you will assume that it took 6 million years for the bean to be ready. Same thing about the universe, the earth. You don't know if there was at some point action that caused that to faster the results. So that's, for example, 3 different answers or explanations that science, technology, evolution, Big Bang Theory, it's not actually against the Torah, it's not against God. It's just a way that we see things today, but you can explain that in a much easier way, that God was the one who started the process. And it's happened in the way that the Torah is telling us. So that's one way of understanding and knowing that something at some point happened, by seeing the results, right? And not telling to yourself that just happened by itself. Or there is a story, it's a joke, but there's a story that lots of different countries wanted to go to, we went to the moon, they want to go to Mars, right? It's much far and it's difficult to go there. But they want to go there. So they combine together teams from United States of America, from China, and from Russia. Together, they put lots of money and effort so they can go there, all of them together at the first time. Finally, they're able to go there, and you see team of 3, an American guy, a Russian guy, and a Chinese guy, together, they're coming, they're landing, and for the first time in the history, they start to walk all of a sudden, and everybody in the whole world is watching. And you see the camera, and all of a sudden, they see a bottle of Coca-Cola and a Chabad house also. But they see a bottle of Coca-Cola over there, and it's like, how is this even possible? It's the first time we're here. And they're going there, and they grab it, and it says, made in USA. And the Russian guy and the Chinese guy are going crazy, says it's not even fair, how that's possible? We agree that we are going together, how come you guys were here before? And everyone going crazy. And then one of the professors on land says, hey guys, relax. Maybe it just happened after billions years, that bottle of Coca-Cola just happened by itself, or Coke made, and somehow was written over there, made in USA. Everybody were laughing, and he says, are you out of your mind? If it's there because someone put it over there, there's no way to find a Coke bottle made in USA unless someone actually put it over there. Everyone understands. So you get it about bottle of Coke, but the entire universe, you don't get that concept that if it's there, it's because someone put it over there. That's one way of understanding. Knowledge. 1 + 1 = 2. The other way to see it is when someone is telling you. And that's the point of Torah min Shamayim. It means that we live, as I say, in illusion, but we live in rules and laws of our nature, of this world, right? And everything that we will talk about is going to be based on our understanding, that we're very limited, right? The way that we need to prove something, it's only something from outside of our society, of our world, of our universe. Why? Because imagine you're in a game, playing a game, right? And in the games there is the rules of the game. The only way for you to understand something about the game or to turn on and off the game is if you're outside of the game. But if you're inside the game, you just follow the rules of the game. Now, if the developer will tell you, it's my game, and let me explain you what's going on and how you can maybe even change the game, or how you can play the game better, or how you can stop the game, right? Or how you can reset and start all over again, or how you can pick a different player in the game, right? Because he's from the outside. Anyone that will come to you from the game is limited because he's part of the game. The only way for you to know something about the game and to know if it's true or not, if someone from outside will tell you something about it. Why? Because it's not limited to the rules of the game. When we're talking about God and we're talking about the Torah, we have to make sure that our source of knowledge comes from the outside, not from the inside. If it's someone from this world who's telling you something, you can take it or leave it, it's up to you, but you can never prove it or know if it's true or not. Because it's someone that is also limited to whatever is going on over here. it means that the only way I have to be someone from the outside, right? So, to understand the point number one of today, it's knowing and believing in Hashem start first with knowing. It means you can't just say, oh, I believe in Hashem, like slang that people use it, believe like that's your opinion. Have to be something strong. Have to be something that you investigate, that you know. The way of doing that, obviously, is by looking around you, by questioning yourself, by understanding how those results come from someplace. And knowing that when God introduced himself to the Jewish people, what he told us is, I'm your God, who took you out of Egypt. Right? Anochi Hashem Elokecha, Asher hotzeticha me'eretz Mitzrayim. Why God didn't say, I'm your God, who created everything. I'm God who brought you to this world. I'm God who is everything. That's not what he's saying. Right? What he's saying, I'm your God who took you out of Egypt. It means that God is telling you, believe in me only by seeing the results, by seeing something above nature, by seeing someone that is not limited to the laws that you're living in, the rules that you have to follow, someone that is above. That's why you'll know that I'm your God. You have to see it in your own eyes. So if I will tell you, believe in God who created everything, we weren't there, we don't know, right? But we for sure know that at some point, something above nature happened when we left Egypt. And the one who did it, he is God. And when he gave us the Torah, what happened was that we revealed himself in a way that never happened before, and it's not going to happen after. And he's telling you. And that's the second way of seeing things. It means that God is telling you things in the Torah that there is no way for someone at that time, at that point, to know or to see or to tell you. And by him telling you that, and everybody's seeing that and aware of that, that's telling you that he knows something that you don't know. And no one can promise you something that he promised and it's actually happened. For example, that he promised you that the Jewish nation will survive forever and no one ever will forget the Torah. Now again, in the Torah it's written things there, unless we were there, it's crazy to believe in that. It actually say that 600,000 people, men, were standing on Mount Sinai, on Har Sinai, and watching whatever happened over there, the ceremony, the Ten Commandments, the sounds, the fire. Now, from that point, the people that were watching that gave that experience to their children, to their students. If it's one person that's telling you something, you can either believe in that person or not. But if 600,000 people telling you the same thing, and they're willing to take upon themselves lots of restrictions in their life based on what they saw, that's only because it's actually happened. Now, if someone created a religion and he just, wanted to do it, so number one, he won't give you 613 laws that each one of them divided to many more details. He will just tell you 5 to 10 things that are very simple, and that's it. Because he actually wants you to follow him and to believe in him. Number one. Number two, he won't tell you to stick to yourself, right? And if someone wants to join you, it's a very long and difficult process. He will just tell you, whoever wants to join, welcome to the club, right? By making that process difficult and preventing others at the beginning to join, he's telling you that the main interest is not to bring everybody. It's just to give you mission and purpose in your life and make sure that you'll do it. And many more details that written in the Torah that there is no way for a human to know that. For example, there is the fins and the scales of a fish, and the Torah is telling you those kind of signs that even today 90% of the ocean we weren't able to investigate yet or to find out, right? It's the deep ocean. It's very dark, and sometimes we're trying to find out, but till today, still 90% we're not really aware of what's going on over there. And someone over 3,000 years ago telling you that you never find the fish and give you exactly the details of the fins and the scales, etc., etc. That have to be someone that created that. So the first thing is knowing HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as the Rambam is telling us, to ask yourself the question, as King David says, Mi besari ech ze Eloah. I'm looking at myself and I see God. Because if no one can just find a song of 5 lines that happened by itself and everyone understands someone wrote it, and no one will see a Coke bottle and it says, oh, it just happened by itself. So you look at yourself and you understand someone did it. By understanding that you have limits, you know someone limited you. By understanding that you're here either because you created yourself or someone created you, and you come in with this kind of philosophy and logic, you understand that God exists. Again, what exactly is God? We cannot know Him the way that we know ourselves, because it's something spiritual. It's above our understanding. So God doesn't have face, doesn't have shape like we have, doesn't have it, right? You can't see it. That's why the Torah uses lots of analogies, right, to describe even the names that we refer to God as Elokim or Adnut or Havaya or Shem Shakai that we put on the mezuzah. All of those are names that it's a nickname, right? It's the way that we describe different kinds of powers of God. But at the same time, we need to remember that after we know that, we need to believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a simple way of believing, that it means after we have this knowledge, we need to feel it. Because many times we know things, but we don't feel it. We know, but we're afraid to actually bring it to our life, because now it actually means that we need to do things. If we know something, what exactly it says about us. For example, I remember I was going to visit someone who was in Mount Sinai Hospital, and he unfortunately was in the cancer department. And going there was a doctor outside. So I say hi because I like to talk to people. And says, hey, how are you? Doctor so-and-so, what are you doing? I'm, dealing with those kind of situations of people who got cancer, lungs. He said, oh, why? Because most of them, they were smoking, and we actually see the result. So I'm like, what are you doing outside? He says, I'm smoking. I'm like, for how many years you're a doctor? It's like 37 years. Wow. And for those 37 years, that's what you do. You're dealing with people that most of them, according to you, were smoking, and that's why they got cancer, and many of them unfortunately died. He says, yes, and I'm very good at it. I know what I'm doing. So I'm like, so why are you smoking? He's like, whatever I do for living, when I'm taking care of people, doesn't mean I need to quit smoking. I like doing it. Or I'm addicted to it. Or knowing that it's not good for me doesn't mean I can actually change my life. Right? So many times knowing doesn't mean anything. I know some of the things that I'm eating are not good for me, but I'm still eating it because I like it, right? I know that God exists and He's watching me. That means that I'm always 24/7, 365 doing the right thing. No. Why? But I know. Knowing is not enough, right? Believing, it's bringing your knowledge to the mindset of living your life, right? And that's the separate between I know and I believe. When we're talking about believing, it's not being stupid, coming and says, oh, I believe. That's a very simple way of doing something that it's very nice that you believe in that, but it's your opinion. It's the way that you see it. What we want is to come from a conclusion, from an understanding that God is here, and now you bring it to your life. We'll talk at the end of the class today exactly what is Emunah. But let's continue. So God, that we know that He's here because we see the results of it, and we understand that someone above time and above our reality created everything. So the way that He created it, the beginning of the story of Parashat Bereshit, Genesis, He bring up that there was 6 days of creation. Again, whatever day mean, can be 14 billion years. We're not going to go into that. But He has some kind of a process of starting with light, bringing materialism to this world. And the question is, why did it? Right? We're talking about purpose of life. Why did it? Why God created everything? So now when we says, okay, we here, someone put us over here. All right, check, number one, makes sense. The one who put us over here, He's infinite. There's no limit, because He cannot have limits unless someone put those limits on Him, but no one did it. Because if someone did it, so He is not God. So whoever is God, whatever you're going to call Him, He did it. Have to be very capable, have to be very smart. And if he's smart and capable, right, logically, what makes sense is that he's doing things for a reason, right? So what's the reason? What's the purpose of everything, right? So the Ramchal is telling us the concept of Mahut Atov Le'etiv. It means that because he's so good, and good doesn't mean someone who give you people think, oh, I'm a good father, I'm giving to my little daughter a lollipop, a candy. That doesn't mean good. It means nice. And sometimes it's actually not good. If you give too much, it's not good, right? Good is not necessarily means giving. Good, it means the truth, right? It's already in the Greek philosophy of Socrates and Plato. They were talking about what is good, what is the truth, what is the right thing to do. Lots of discussion and philosophy. But good, it means the truth. Ubacharta batov. The Torah is telling us we need to choose the good. Not to do good, to choose the good. How you choose good? You choose what's right. What's right? Whatever the truth is, right? So if God wants to do something good, do the right thing, can he just do it for no reason? It's not the right thing, right? So in order for him to do good, you need to create a receiver, as someone that he can do good with him, right? Because he's good. You're not good unless you're doing something good, right? Table can be table even if you don't use it. But when we're talking about behavior, you have to behave in order to have this kind of behavior, right? Imagine you're dating, right? And someone is telling you, I'm very kind and nice. What it means? That when he meets people, he's very kind to those people. He's very nice with them. Can you be nice to yourself? Can you be kind with yourself? No. You have to have someone else that you can do it with that person, right? So for God to be good, because this is the right thing, this is the good that we're talking about, you need to have a receiver. Now, if that receiver won't do anything to deserve whatever God wants to give, that's not good. Did you ever saw someone giving compliments to a robot, or to talking to Alexa, or to Siri, or to Waze, or to whoever you talk to during the day, and say, actually happened to me on ChatGPT. Lately my best friend is ChatGPT, opening my heart, talking. So you're gonna be like, thank you, you're gonna be pleased. I'm doing that just to educate myself that every time that I'm asking something, it's naturally should be from, please, can you, and then thank you for doing that, even if I'm talking to a robot, but it's coming from a place of self-education. But everyone understands that there's no point of giving reward to the iRobot to cleaning your house. Because it's a robot. There's no feeling, there is no emotion, there is no effort, there is no energy, there's no work. It's just you designed it. What's happening? God cannot give reward to the table for being a table, right? God cannot give us something because we're here. We need to do something about it. We need to earn that. We need to acquire that. If not, it's not good. Forget about that it's embarrassing, that it's full of shame when you get something just because without actually doing something about it. We all like to work. We like to feel satisfied. We like to feel kind of achievement. That's good. So God wants to do good, so He's creating us, so we will have a receiver that He can do good with. But that receiver needs to earn in order to feel that it's good. So therefore, He's giving us mission, right? But that mission, are we obligated or not? If we're obligated to do it, so we're not choosing to do it. So again, we're just a robot. So we need to have free will. Free will, it's a condition, it's a requirement to receive the reward in a good way. Because if you have to do it, right, you're not really doing anything. In other words, when we're talking about purpose of life, God wants to, in a way, to express His godliness all over. In Hasidut, they call it the Dirabat Achronim. We wanted to build a dwelling in the lower level so we can live. In other words, if you bring as an analogy, someone powerful wants to use his power. So you can see that he's powerful, right? There's no point to be bodybuilder sitting on the couch, Netflix and chill. Being bodybuilder, it means that you're working out. That's part of you, that's who you are. If you stop doing that, you basically don't really fulfill yourself. By God being God, it means that they need other people to be their God. We call it sometimes En Melech Belo Am. There is no king without a population. Right? Imagine someone telling you, I'm a king. King of who? I'm a king of myself. No, you need to have people that are following you and believing that you're the king. So therefore you will be king. So God created everything because that's part of his nature of being God. To give, to have a population as a king. But the reason that he did it is only to do good with us. Not for himself, because he doesn't need anything. Again, remember, God doesn't have limits. If God doesn't have limits, he doesn't have needs, right? The way that we see need. He doesn't have a lack of something. So therefore, he doesn't need to satisfy himself in the way that we see it. So it's only from the point of view of the receiver, of us, that he's telling us, I will put you over here, and I will give you a specific mission, so when you will do it, therefore you can get the reward. Now the reward, just to touch that, people talk about punishment and reward, Sachar ve'onesh, Gan Eden, Gehenam, you go to heaven, afterlife. It's a topic for a whole different class. But when we talk about rewards and punishment, it's not necessarily the way that we see it, that if you're doing good, I will pay you. If you will come tomorrow at 7 a.m. help me to clean the shul, I will give you $200. That's not the reward of God. Reward of God is something that we create. We build into ourselves. It means, imagine you're a developer, and I'm telling you, take the money, take the tools, take the employees, build a tower. What's going to be the reward? The penthouse on the 50th floor. That's yours, right? You build your own reward. If you're not going to build a tower, if you're going to stop on floor 47, you're going to get the penthouse? You're not, right? Now, I'm not giving it to you. I'm just giving you the tools to acquire your own reward. I'm telling you, whenever you finish building the building, the last floor will be yours. When we talk about the punishment and rewards of God, we're talking about punishment. It's a feeling of someone that didn't really accomplish himself. Someone that didn't fulfill his purpose. Someone that didn't use his tools. That feeling, that shame, that embarrassment of, I got something so special and I didn't do anything with that. That's the punishment. That's the punishment. As we burn you from the inside, we're talking about, Gehenam, fire. Not a physical fire. It's something that from the inside you feel, I had a potential and I didn't do it. The reward is something that you will create yourself. We have a soul that is part of God that he gave to us, and with that we can grow, we can elevate ourselves. So always think about the building, that this is your life, that you're building. And more you build, more you'll have. More you do, that's the reward that you're receiving. So the purpose of Hashem to create everything is to be able to give us what he have, that it means God, and that's what he gave us. The Torah is teaching us right at the beginning, the pasuk, Vayipach be'apid mishmat chayim, it means God blew literally himself in the first human. Right? Says the Zohar, Midile mamash nafach, it means he gave himself, literally. That image of God. That's image of God. We're going to talk later on about what exactly it means image of God. We discussed one time about that. What means image of God? What exactly do we have? But he gave it to us because that means being God, sharing. Don't put limits. If God will keep it to himself, that's limits. God by definition needs to be all over, needs to give it to others. That means being God. So that's the purpose of the creation, to give to us. Our purpose in life, it's to receive from Hashem. But how you can receive from God? You need to open yourself. You need to make yourself a vessel to receive the blessing. Imagine I want to give you something. I want to give you money. I want to give you blessings. I want to give you food, drinks, house, car. I want to give you something. You need to be there to receive it. If you won't be there, if you won't open yourself, there's no way for me to give it to you. So God by definition is all over. God by definition is no limits. He's sharing, he's giving, he's opening himself to others. But there is need for others. So our purpose, when we hear from our points of view, is to work on ourselves to become bigger and bigger vessel. In other words, to raise the name of God here in this world. We say it every day in Tefillah, Itgadal v'Itkadash Merabah. May we make the name of Hashem bigger. We raise the name, Itgadal, make it Gadol, big, right? Be'alma de'ati, in this world, this in Aramaic means in our world, right? So the purpose of Hashem is to be Hashem, to share, to give, to open, no limits, infinite, pure energy to everyone. Our purpose is to be part of it. It's to receive. It's to raise the name of Hashem. But how are we doing that, right? How can we do it? So we have the mitzvot, right? We have the mitzvot, the laws of things that we need to do. Talk about mitzvot and their purpose, right? What exactly it means. So first, what's the word mitzvah? Talk about mitzvah. You know Hebrew? Mitzvah. What's the word mitzvah means? Huh? Good deed is ma'asim tovim. It's a good deed. Mitzvah is command, right? How you say command in Hebrew? Actually, tzivui, not mitzvah. You're right. We translate mitzvah as a command, right? God commanded us. He gave us mitzvah, right? But if you actually think about the right translation to the word command, it's tzivui. What is mitzvah? Mitzvah is something else. Very similar to a command, but it's a little bit different. Mitzvah, it's the transaction between the one who's giving the command to the one that's receiving, listening to the command. For example, if you have you take a loan, so you have the lender, right? You have the borrower, and you have the loan, right? In Hebrew, it's called love, malve, right? It means love is someone that is taking the money, the borrower. Malve is the lender who's giving, and the transaction, the loan, called the milve. Milve is the connection between the lender and the borrower. Milve. It's what's happening over here. Mitzvah, if you realize, it's the same word of milveh. It means the transaction between God as the commander, as the one who's giving you the command, to us, those who receive the command, those who are listening to it. This is the transaction. What's the purpose of this transaction? To unite the commander and the listener, the soldier, the one receiving, to bring them together. The word mitzvah in Hebrew, it means tzavta, unity, together, right? In Hebrew, when you use a plier, you call it tzvat. It brings two things together as one. When we do mitzvot, we become one entity with God. The purpose of us doing mitzvot is not just going to feeling, lighting the candles of Shabbat, keeping Shabbat, keeping the laws of Nidah, eating kosher. We're going to talk about all of those things with Hashem in the next class. That's not the point of just doing something physical. When we keep the mitzvot, we're creating this connection with the one who gave us the mitzvot. Mitzvah refers to the transaction. Actually, if you look on the word mitzvah, it's a little bit deep, but you're going to be with me. We know that there is lots of ways of reading the Torah. You can either read the words as is, you can see the numerical value. You ever heard about Gematria, numerical value? Aleph is 1, Bet is 2, Gimel is 3, etc. There is Rashi Tevot. Rashi Tevot, it means that you take the word and each letter of the word refers to a different word, right? You just give you the one letter. There is Atbash. Atbash is when you replace Aleph with Taf, the Hebrew alphabet. Bet with Shin, right? You read it backwards. There's different ways of looking at it. Let's take the word mitzvah, and we're going to read the beginning of this word with Atbash. Atbash is a code that Aleph you replace with Taf, Bet with Shin, Gimel with Resh, etc. So let's take the word mitzvah, right? What's the first letter of mitzvah? Mem. If you want to replace mem, what's going to be the letter? Let's try to do it, right? We do it. Taf, Shin, Resh, Kuf, Tzadi, Pe, Ain, Samach, Nun, Mem. Mem is number 10 from the end of the Hebrew alphabet. So let's count now 10 from the beginning. Yud. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chay, Tet, Yud. So instead of Mem, we have Yud. Right? Perfect. Let's go to the second letter. Tzadi. Right? By the way, not Tzadik, with Kuf at the end, that's a mistake of people. Tzadi. The way that you pronounce the letter Tzadi, Tzadi, Dalet, Yud. tzadi, right? Just it's already tzadikut, so people is like tzadi, but it's tzadi. So let's again, tav, shin, resh, kuf, tzadi. Number 5. What's the letter number 5 from the beginning? Hey. So instead of mem, what do we got?
Hey.
Yud. Instead of tzadi, what do we got?
Hey.
Hey. What are the last 2 letters of mitzvah? Vav and hey. What do we got? Yud.
His name.
Hey. The letter vav and the letter hey. We got the name of God. It means that the first 2 letters from the commander, it's hidden. The second 2 letters are revealed for us, but together it's creating the name of God. That's what we hear. It gadal v'itkadat shemei rabah, to raise the name of Hashem. The pasuk is telling us, hanistarot laHashem Elokeinu. The hidden, it's for God. The Yud Hey, it's hidden. It's Mem Tzadi. But if you actually read it backwards with the Adbash, you see Yud and Hey. Ve'haniglot, but whatever it's revealed, lanu lebanenu ad olam. Ve'haniglot, Vav, Hey, Niglot. The letter Vav and Hey are revealed to us. You realize that in the word mitzvah, you understand the transaction that we have with God. You get that the meaning of the word, it means to be together, betzavta, right? And you see that it's actually in the word, you're creating the name of God just by doing that. The purpose of doing the mitzvot is to create connection with God and to become one entity with God and to raise the name of God. Every time you do a mitzvah, it's not just something about here that you do. You shake the lulav. This is analogy to a higher and deeper connection in other words that you don't even see, right? And sometimes you don't even understand, what I'm doing, right? There was a guy that had no money. And he needed, to eat something. He was going at night, and he's looking for something, unfortunately, to steal so he can maybe, sell it. And then all of a sudden, he sees a huge palace with lights inside, beautiful, amazing. And he says, you know what, for sure I'm going to find something over there. So he sneaks around, he's going on top of the palace on the roof, and everything is closed, the windows, the doors, everything is gated, there's no way you can go in. But he says, I'm not going empty-handed, I need to find something. All of a sudden he sees a piece of metal, like a stick of metal on the roof. He said, I can take it and sell it to people who are buying metal, and I will have a few dollars, and I will find, tomorrow buy something to eat. So he's trying to take this stick of metal from the roof, right? But it's attached. So he's grabbing it, and he's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, making lots of effort and energy, and finally he was able to break it from the roof, and he's taking it. All of a sudden, he hears a crazy sound, boom, from the palace. Before he was counting 3, 2, 1, boom, 20 guards jumping on the roof, taking him down, beating him up, taking him to the palace. He's like, doesn't even understand. He's telling them, you didn't understand what you did. It's like, I didn't do anything. He says, you didn't do anything. They bring him to the palace. There's a beautiful living room inside, and you see millions of pieces of glasses and pieces of metal on the floor. And he's like, what just happened over here? He says, listen, there was a beautiful, huge chandelier on the ceiling. And you, by breaking that stick of metal that was holding that chandelier, you're breaking that beautiful lamp that was there to pieces. Cost $500,000. You're gonna pay for it. He says, but I didn't do anything. I was just stealing $5 value of piece of metal. He says, yeah, but that was attached to $500,000 value of a beautiful lamp that was inside the palace. You're gonna clean it, and you're gonna work till you're gonna pay for everything you did. This is our life. We here, we don't see anything. We see a piece of metal. We see the lulav that we're shaking. Like, what are we doing? We see the candles of Shabbat. What are we doing? You don't understand that it's connected to something higher than you, bigger than you, much more power than you, lots of light. That's mitzvah. Mitzvah is the connection. Mitzvah is something that you do over here,
And if you do good, you're creating realities, you're creating worlds, you're creating connection, you're becoming one entity with God. You're raising the name of God. You're fulfilling yourself in life. That's the purpose of the mitzvot. That's why we have them. Obviously, each one of the mitzvot, there is understanding, the laws, the details. B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to go over them as much as we can to understand what exactly we're doing. But the purpose of the mitzvah is to have this connection with God. Now, it doesn't end over there, because we have the Torah, right? It says, Ner mitzvah v'Torah or. The mitzvah, it's the candle, right? But the light, it's the Torah. What is Torah? What is Torah? We have Torah that we need to keep. What exactly it means Torah that we're keeping, right? Many people, they're like, Torah, it's a book that is guiding you how to live your life, right? That's Torah for people. Some say, it's like, whatever, you're buying something in IKEA, right? And you need to know how to assemble and how to build it. You open and you do it, right? You have the booklet and you do it. That's some people, it's how to live your life, right? Beautiful. Some people says, no, it's not how to live your life. Torah gives you the ability to live. It's like fish in the water, right? You're going to take the fish out of the water. What's going to happen? We'll die. So if you will take someone out of the Torah, he will die. He will have no purpose in life. He will have no, feeling and understanding of anything. That's what people say. I think that both opinions are wrong. Torah, it's not a book that will guide you or give you structure how to live your life. That's booklet from IKEA. That's not Torah. Torah is not even something that without that you cannot live. Oh, there's no way you can live without Torah. Wrong. That's not Torah. Torah, it's everything. Torah, it's life itself. And I will explain. Because it's very important. When you say the Torah is like water, like air, you cannot live without oxygen, so you cannot live without Torah, it means that you see yourself as a separate entity, right? You see yourself as you, right? It's just me, myself, and I, and there is the Torah. Then I cannot live without Torah. Or the Torah is telling me how to live my life. Wrong. There's no you without the Torah. Everything is the Torah. The way that God created everything, He was looking into the Torah and He created the whole world. הסתכל באורייתא וברא עלמא. He was looking in the Torah. Now, Torah is not the way that we read it, right? The stories of Moshe. The Torah is deeper than that, referred to the Hebrew alphabet, right? As written in the book of creation, that, as far as we know, was written by Abraham Avinu. Those Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, the Hebrew alphabet, those are the code to the Torah. This is everything. When you look around you, what you see is the software. You see the app, right? The Torah is the code. That's the Torah. Maybe we will see at some point, when we're going to talk about blessings and prayers, the Torah is open code. It's Android, it's not Apple. You can actually deal with that. Yeah, believe me, you can do something about it. Torah is open code. But as of now, Torah, it's a binary language. I don't know if any of you is familiar with computers, but Torah, it's the binary language of our existing, of our reality, right? Any app you see, any website, any software, any game, anything that exists today, including the AC and the iPhone and everything you see, it's built on top of different languages, right? It's simple of HTML, C#, JavaScript, and then you have like more than that, right? The C++, C#, etc. Till you're coming to the point of binary language. Binary language, it means 0 and 1. That's it. That's the only thing. 0, it means no connection, no electricity. I don't know if you remember, many years ago, that's how they used to do the square diskette, on the old computers. 0, it means no connection, no electricity. 1, it means electricity, connection. That's it. right? Little by little, 0, 1, 0 means something. 0, 1, 0, 0 means something else. Little by little, they created a language. The Bionic language of this universe, of our reality, it's 0, no connection to Hashem, 1, connection to Hashem. That's it. That's our language. Torah, Aleph Bet, is the binary language of the game we called life. So Torah is not just giving you the structure, how to live your life. Torah is not something, a tool that without that you cannot live. Torah is everything. Torah is the code. Torah is the language for the game we called life. When you know the code, you understand the game. When you will listen to the one who wrote the code and he will explain you how things in the game work, you'll understand. When people are telling me, with technology, with time, we find out that, the same thing they find out written in the Torah. I'm like, no, it's the opposite. You got it all wrong. Whatever it's written in the Torah, you see it in reality. Torah is the code. If you will play whatever game you're playing, there is a way in a million years that you'll be able to make a move in the game that doesn't written in the code. Simple question. You don't need to understand in gaming and computers. Just simple theoretical question. Logic. Can you make a move in game unless there is a line in the code that will allow you to make that move? No, it's impossible, right? It means that everything you see around you, there is a line of code. Anything you see, anything you do, anything you think, you live your life, it's a code that someone wrote. So when we talk about Torah, we're not talking about something that will help you and will guide you how to live your life. We're talking about Torah is not like a water to a fish. Torah, it's everything. And when you learn Torah, when you read it, when you get connected to the code, to the binary language of the Torah, you'll have everything. Because you know the code. When you have a personal connection with the developer, everything will be much easier. Why? Because he will tell you, if you press here, that's what's going to happen. And if you press there, something else will happen. Right? Because he knows. He did it. When we're talking about Torah, it's not just reading books in Aramaic or in Old Hebrew. We're not talking about heavy books that you're going to shul, to Bet Midrash, and you read it. We're talking about taking our connection to ourselves, to our surrounding environment, and to God to the next level. So we start with knowing that God exists by seeing the results, by looking into the Torah and understanding that if something is written and it's true, someone has to be above nature, above time to know about it, and everything that we discuss. And then you say that there is purpose to everything because he's smart, he's infinite, there's no limits to him, he's capable. And then he says, okay, so his purpose is to give all of those things, but you understand that he cannot do it just because. Not that he cannot do it in our eyes, because reward is only when you earn that, when you deserve it. If not, it's fake. It's like to give a lollipop to the iRobot. It's stupid, right? So our purpose is to be receiver. It's to open ourselves. It's to acquire that. It's to earn that. To deserve it. And that's why we have Torah and Mitzvot. Torah is the code. Torah is the details, the understanding, the binary language of our connection. And the Mitzvot are, in reality, what we can do in order to bring that connection to reality. Is this stick of metal on the roof that's connected to the huge chandelier, the beautiful lamp that was there, that by shaking it, you shake the light. When we're doing something over here, we're creating something over there that we don't even know. But that's the mitzvah, to get connected, to become one with God. That's what it says, Israel, Oraita v'Kutzabrichu Chadu. The Jewish people, the Torah and God is the same thing. So when someone asks you what is Torah, you'll say Torah is everything. What is God? God is Torah. What is Torah? Torah is God. What is you? You are Torah. And when you learn Torah, when you become one with Torah, you are like God. What it means to be godly, we're going to learn in the next classes. But each one of us have part of God inside, as we said about the soul. We don't know about it. We don't feel it. That's what we're learning. That's what we're getting connected. So to summarize everything, and as we says on the last bullet point of the class of today, is what is Emunah? Because we started with that. We started with believing in Hashem. Right? So before we go into what is Shabbat, what is Tefillot, why do we need to keep those mitzvahs, how we should do them, what's the steps, just to summarize in our head that when we know that God exists and we understand that we have purpose in life, we believe in Hashem. Believe, I will translate, we trust Hashem. Emunah comes from the word emun in Hebrew. Emun, hey. You know what is emun in Hebrew? Trust. I trust you, ani ma'amin lecha. When I say I believe in God, that doesn't mean I believe that God exists. That's I know. I know it by fact. When I say I believe, it means I trust. I trust Hashem. I trust that I have purpose in life. I trust that by doing those things I will fulfill my purpose. I will fulfill myself. When you trust Hashem, you can follow Hashem. Everything is much easier for you. At the beginning, we says, "Vayaminu ba'Hashem u'Moshe avdo." You know what happened when they saw that Moshe and God split the sea? They trusted. When the Torah talk about what we call the Emunah, the Torah called it knowing. Vayadata et Hashem. You need to know. When the Torah say Emunah, the Torah talk about trust. You need to trust Hashem. When you trust Hashem, what are you going to do? When you trust someone, what are you going to do? You're going to marry that person because you trust them. You're going to do business with that person because you trust them. You will ask advice for that person because you trust them. You know, when I'm telling to my daughter, a year and a half, old, to jump from the counter to my hand, she jumped. Why?
Trust you.
Because she trusts me that I'm there to hold her. So she's willing to jump from the counter that is 3 times her size. Right? God forbid, why should jump? Because Abba is here, right? Abba is not going to let me down. Abba is taking care of me. I know Abba loves me. Abba will do anything to protect me. To trust me. We trust God. It means that after we know, after we feel in our bones, we trust. But trust is not enough. When we trust God, now we need to do. We're not going to be like this doctor who's smoking outside of the cancer, department, and he knows that people are dying from it, but he's like, yeah, I know, but you're not doing anything with that. When you trust, you do something about it. You got to jump. And when you jump, you have no doubts. Because you know that if that person, as an analogy, or that God, wants only good things for you, and you're willing to jump, even if it's going to be painful, or even if you don't understand, or even if it's difficult or complicated, you know it's good for you. You know it's for the best. You know that's the right thing. So you're not going to be afraid. You're not going to worry. Because you trust the one that you're jumping. You know, you trust, you follow. When you do it, you know what's going to happen next? The 4th step. You'll be very happy. Because you have no doubts. When you feel that you need something, when you have lack of something, when you're afraid, when you're scared of life, when you have doubts, when you're down, doesn't matter what happened. Kol man David Rachmana letav aviv. Everything that God is doing is good for us. Everything is for the best. You'll be happy. You'll be the happiest man ever exists. Because everything is for good and everything is for the best. You know God. You understand in your bones. You live it in your life using the Torah and the mitzvot. You'll trust Hashem and you'll be the happiest forever. Thank you everyone for joining and thank you for coming.